Sometimes things happen in this world that they don't make any sense. Acts of evil so dark, it feels like they rip a hole in the fabric of everything we know. Well, this is the story of one of those moments. And it's the story of the little boy who's the only one left to try and put things back together. So let's go back. It's 2018, in a quiet neighborhood in Florida. You know the kind of day, the sun's out, people are outside. But inside one particular house, a storm has been brewing for a long, long time. And it's about to break. At the very heart of that storm is a little boy named Ronnie. He's just 8 years old. He loves cartoons, he loves video games, just a normal kid. And he has absolutely no idea that by the time the day is over, his childhood will be gone, just burned away by the one person who is supposed to protect him most. To really understand the horror of what happened, you have to understand the man who lit the fuse. See, this wasn't some stranger breaking in. This was a guest, someone they had actually welcomed into their home. I mean, think about what Ronnie wanted. It's what every kid deserves, right? A safe place, a family. But what he got was his father, O'Neill. And whenever O'Neill was around, you could just feel the tension in the air. Every single slammed door, every raised voice. It was like a countdown to something awful. So who was this guy really? O'Neill wasn't just a bad dad. He was a man with a real pattern of rage and just complete irresponsibility. We're talking about a guy with a criminal record who had already abandoned his kids once before. Life for Ronnie, his mom, and his sister was just calmer, safer when he wasn't around. And this is the moment where everything pivots. One single decision that sealed their fate. O'Neill gets himself shot in a drive-by, and suddenly he's got nowhere to go. So he calls Ronnie's mom, the woman he walked out on. And maybe out of pity, or maybe just a tiny flicker of hope that he'd changed, she says yes. She opens her door. She lets the monster back inside. So with O'Neill back in the house, the family starts living on a razor's edge. And then, in March of 2018, everything falls apart. And what happened next, it wasn't a slow-motion tragedy. It was a sudden, violent, and total plunge into an absolute nightmare. It all kicks off with an argument, just shouting back and forth between O'Neill and Ronnie's mom. But this time was different. Words weren't enough. Something inside him just snaps. He leaves the room and comes back with a shotgun. He hunts her down. Then he turns on his 9-year-old daughter, a little girl with special needs who couldn't even run away, and he murders her. And 8-year-old Ronnie, he sees the whole thing. The poor kid is just frozen. And that's when his father's eyes lock onto him. He drops the shotgun. And now he has a blade. This isn't some distant act anymore. This is brutally up close and personal. He lunges at his own son, a boy who weighs maybe 60 pounds, and he starts stabbing him over and over again. It's a level of rage that is it's impossible to understand. But it wasn't over, not even then. In O'Neill's twisted mind, he had to erase everything. No witnesses, no evidence. He finds gasoline and he starts pouring it all over the house, on the bodies of his family, and on his son who is still bleeding on the floor. He strikes a match, and the entire world just explodes in fire. By the time the first responders show up, the house is just a raging inferno. They think they're on a recovery mission. They have no earthly idea that deep inside that fire, a little boy is simply refusing to die. They don't know that the monster failed to erase his only witness. And then, something that seems completely impossible happens. Out of the smoke and the heat, this tiny figure just stumbles through the front door, covered in soot and blood and burns. It's Ronnie. He has literally walked through fire to get away from his father. He's alive. And the contrast of that moment is just bone-chilling. O'Neill strolls out of the house right behind his son, almost casual about it, right up until the police tackle and tase him. Meanwhile, Ronnie is a complete medical catastrophe. He's airlifted to the hospital, and doctors are saying he has almost zero chance of making it. But Ronnie is a fighter. Days slowly turn into weeks. And while he's in the hospital, this one detective, a guy named Mike, keeps visiting him. And then one day, Ronnie, a kid who has lost his entire world, asks this man he barely knows the simple, heartbreaking question. And right there, in that moment, a bond is formed. A tiny seed of trust starts to grow in all that scorched earth. 3 years go by. 3 years of surgeries, of physical therapy, of the whole uncertain world of foster care. Ronnie survives, but his fight isn't over. The physical war might be won, but the psychological one, that's just about to start, because now he has to face his father one more time. So fast forward to 2021. An 11-year-old Ronnie walks into a courtroom. But he's not just there to watch. He is the prosecution's star witness. He's the only person on earth who can tell the jury what really happened inside that house. And that's when the trial just turns into this bizarre circus. O'Neill, in this unbelievable act of pure narcissism, fires his lawyers. He decides he's going to represent himself. Sometimes people do this. It's not about winning. It's a power move. It's about controlling the room, intimidating people, and turning this incredibly serious proceeding into the O'Neill show. And that decision leads to a scene that is ripped straight from a nightmare. Think about this. The man who stabbed his own child and left him for dead now has the legal right to stand up in court and question him. It is the ultimate act of psychological torture. The whole courtroom goes silent. O'Neill looks right at his son and he asks, "Did I hurt you that night?" And this little boy's voice comes out, clear as a bell. "Yes." O'Neill just can't help himself. He pushes it. "And how did I hurt you?" And Ronnie looks directly at the man who was once his father and says 2 words. "You stabbed me." And with that, the whole case just slams shut. The jury barely had to deliberate. The verdict was guilty. Guilty on every single count. O'Neill got 3 life sentences. He's going to die in prison. The little boy who wasn't supposed to live, he got justice for his entire family. So the monster is locked away for good. But for Ronnie, there's still this huge, terrifying question mark hanging over his life. Okay, he won the battle in court. But what now? Who's there to pick up the pieces for a boy who is now truly all alone in the world? He'd survived something that is just completely unimaginable. He'd shown more courage than most adults will ever have to. But when it's all said and done, he was still just a kid. A kid who wanted, more than anything else in the world, a family. So where does he go from here? And the answer, it turns out, came from where this new chapter all began, that hospital room. Detective Mike gets a call from Ronnie's social worker, and she says, "I'm at my wit's end. I can't find a permanent home for him." And without even a second of hesitation, Mike says, "I do. Bring him here." He and his wife, they knew exactly what they had to do. They were going to adopt him. And just like that, after a journey through the absolute darkest place you can imagine, the boy who faced a monster, the boy who walked through fire, he finally got the one thing he always wanted. He didn't just get a house. He got a dad. He got a mom, a family. He finally got to come home.